This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of Doc and Jock. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, as always, my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. Now, when I say how rich he is, he just texts me, bro, I need time off. I'm going on vacation. I'm flying private with my lady. And I'm like, where are you staying? He's like, I'm going to Cancun, top notch. He's getting that nice butler. I'm like, bro, where was the invite? He's like, look, you got to earn a certain amount and you're not in that category. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, cuz it's just one of those things where I've moved up and I'm like, it's okay. It's all good. You know, I praise. I don't hate. No haterade here. I'm like, man, you're flying private. You could at least, taken a picture and let me see what you're doing. Good stuff, sir. Congrats. I love the fact that you don't have to work. You can just go on vacation whenever you want. Do whatever you got to do. It's all good, man.
You're the absolute worst.
You're flying private. Congrats, man. It's awesome.
So just to clear a couple things up real quick, all right? I was supposed to go on vacation in April before the pandemic happened and shut everything down. And this vacation is basically bought and paid for with the lady friend's miles. She's got a bunch of miles, and she's like, I'll just take care of it. You don't have to worry about it. Also, we're flying Spirit, so we're flying in a death trap. I might not make it back alive.
So no.
This whole thing is on an absolute budget. On top of that, she found a great deal because they're basically giving vacations away right now. She found a great deal on, I don't know if it was like Travelocity or Hotels.com. And she was like, I have to take this. And she's like, just get the time off, whatever you got to do, and I'll cover all of it. And I said, all right. So if anything, I got a sugar mama. So shout out to the sugar mama.
Absolutely. And I want to give you credit. Even though, a few bumps in the road early, the fantasy draft that we had at Buffalo Wild Wings went good. I feel good. It's a week later. I don't have COVID. I felt good. I thought the draft was done well. You could see the sense of like the new school versus the old school, where the old school fantasy players wanted the board and wanted the whole thing. But I was like, you know what? I could do 5 other things and draft and, interact and do what I had to do. So I made it perfectly where it was, I even went to Adam's fantasy draft when it was NFL cutdown day. And I'm like, I'm doing all 5 different things, but doing it online.
I want to give you credit. I want to give you credit because you showed up with a laptop, 3 cell phones. Honestly, you look like a modern day drug dealer. So
right?
You showed up with every electronic device that you owned in your home, plus your wife, who had her own electronic device, and you were able to stay in the draft, conduct your draft. I think you had a pretty good draft. Like, I thought I had a really good draft after it was all said and done. I went back and looked at everybody's team, and I was giving you shit as you were drafting, but I think you have a pretty good team. So you were able to do all these things. It was NFL cutdown day. You were updating SI. You were writing stories. You were conducting a draft. You were engaging with the people at the table. You were all over the place. I was impressed by how you handled yourself. It was amazeballs.
It was great. I got to meet your lady friend. She seems cool, very nice, and it's always good to catch up with people and see what. And I think the thing that makes it great to do it online is the information. You get the points availability, best rankings, whereas sometimes when you're looking down at a paper, your eyes start to hurt and you're just like, whatever, and you just throw out a name. I think this is the best way to do it. And maybe to appease, we just hire someone to put some names on a board so that we can have everybody be happy. But all in all, this was the best way to do it. It ran smooth. It's a couple hours. I think so too. Yeah, the 2-minute limit was perfect. Mm-hmm. I thought that, the little things, just the beeping to let you know, hey, it's your turn, idiot, pay attention, was absolutely perfect from ESPN. And so I'm excited for it. And it's kicking off, baby. NFL football tonight. When, you get home, we can watch a nice game. Patrick Mahomes, NFL potential MVP, is going to kick it off. So football's here. I'm excited. I don't care if anybody else is not excited about it. I don't care if anyone's fearful. For the time being, at least week 1, we're getting NFL football, and I'm very happy to hear that. So it's a great opportunity to talk football, and that's what we're going to do today. Oh, good stuff. And then now,
lots of football today.
Lots of football. All right, we got to talk about it. Lions made a move. They went out and they saw that Adrian Peterson got cut. We looked at it and said, okay, pros and cons. He works with Darrell Bevell, has a history, things like that. All of a sudden, boom, 24 hours later, he's a member of the Detroit Lions. Now, one thing I'll say in regards to it's fine. It's an okay move, very inexpensive. It's not as maybe impactful as many people think. The dude is 35 years old. But when the head coach of the Lions comes out and maybe insults your football intelligence and just really throws out a comment that really makes no sense, he was asked, and he said, no, this wasn't made because we have injury problems. No, we really liked, this player and felt like he would add to our team. Come on, look, you don't have to throw daggers like that. You don't have to try and deflect. We know that your running backs are not 100%. You put one of them on IR in Bo Scarborough. You had a guy that was a fit. You brought him in. But to say that it wasn't because of injury would lend you then to speculate you really thought a 35-year-old was someone you wanted to target when you got Lamar Miller, you got Leonard Fournette, you got younger, more productive running backs that can help you win. So when Coach Patricia comes out and tells us that Adrian Peterson is brought here because he's a talented player that can help us win, it is a little bit disingenuous. So I look at it and I say it's a good move, but I'm not as excited as many people would be in regards to the acquisition of a 35-year-old running back. It seemed like a lot of the Lions were fanboying out to get a future Hall of Famer, but I'm looking at it like, what are you going to do for me this Sunday? You're going to get those touchdowns or you're going to get blown up by the Chicago Bears defense?
See, like, I wish it was, 2011, 2012, when we were getting that Adrian Peterson. But I'm not going to say I love the move, but I don't think it's a bad move. And let me explain why. This is a guy who does something totally different than the two healthy running backs that you have on this roster, right? DeAndre Swift is a guy who can run between the tackles, but he's better at getting the edge and trying to bust a long run. Kerryon Johnson, when healthy, and that's the issue, when healthy, is a guy who does not do a very good job running between the tackles and has trouble getting those short yards. He's a guy who also is better as either a change of pace back or he's good on a bubble screen. Now, Adrian Peterson is a guy who you can bring in, and he's had 2 very productive years back-to-back in Washington, averaging over 4 yards a carry, and he's a guy who can run between the tackles, and he's a guy who can do a couple different things that your running back core doesn't necessarily have. Bo Scarborough going down, you need a guy who can run between the tackles and pick up some of those short yards and pick up those tough yards. And I think Adrian Peterson coming in can give you that. Now, you're right. He's 35 years old. You can't expect this guy to light the world on fire. I'm not expecting this guy to give you a 78-yard touchdown where he blows up 4 guys on his way to the end zone. That doesn't seem like it's feasible right now. Not with his age, not with his condition. But what he can give you is he can give you a guy who can go out there, pick up close to 3.5, 4 yards a carry, run between the tackles. He can help move the chains. He can also pick up a couple big chunk yards if, the blocking scheme's right. And I think that's kind of where this run game is going to need a lot of support is with that offensive line and with whatever that run scheme is. Now, you're right. He does have a relationship with Darrell Bevell, and that plays a bit of a role. I think he's a nice addition, and I think he's going to play out just fine. It was a contract that was honestly super affordable. It was $1 million. You can't give $1 million to a Hall of Fame player, bring him in. I mean, I know he's up there in age, and he's towards the end of his career here, but if he can give you 700-800 yards, maybe 5 touchdowns, does that not sound like a deal? That sounds like a deal to me. On top of that, he's going to help out a guy like DeAndre Swift. Look, I've given up on Kerryon Johnson. I've waved the white flag. I would throw Kerryon Johnson in a trash can. I think the biggest indictment of this organization with this move is the fact that you end up waiving your 5th-round pick in Jason Huntley, who was the highest, at the time, he was the highest ranked cut for any team this year. And you tried to outsmart everybody by releasing him because there's no footage on him. But the Eagles come in and swoop him up immediately. You were trying to get him on your practice squad. I don't know why you wouldn't either cut or IR a guy like Bo Scarborough and then try to keep Jason Huntley. And then you can move Bo Scarborough to your practice squad or try to finagle something else and move some other pieces around. Why are you going to cut this guy? So essentially you end up wasting a 5th-round draft pick. And like you said, 5th-round draft picks don't necessarily give you that production that you're looking for, where they're an every down player, but you can get good rotational players out of 5th-round picks and guys who are going to make a difference. I mean, you can look as far back as Willie Young, who was a 7th-round pick, who went on to become a starter in this league. You can get guys in the 5th round who can help you out. So I was a little bit upset that they ended up cutting Jason Huntley. He gets picked up. They don't get to move him to the practice squad. But I like the move of Adrian Peterson. I don't think it's this grandiose play where you're like, oh my God, how did the rest of the league miss out on this guy? No. I think this is a guy who is going to be an addition. He's going to kind of facilitate and do some things differently than what the rest of your lineup can do. And I think in the end, it's going to pay dividends for this team as long as he can stay healthy. And again, his age is a concern. Generally, at this point in his career, he hasn't really given you too much to worry about as far as health. I mean, besides a couple nicks and bruises, he might have to. His playing time and his snap count might have to be watched a little bit, and he might need a day off during the week. But otherwise, I think he's going to be just fine. I think he's going to play a role on this offense. I like it.
Now, SI All Lions now works with a former NFL scout, and he looked at, and I questioned, why didn't the Lions go out and get Leonard Fournette? And I said, okay.
I wish they would have got Leonard Fournette.
Now, the problem is, obviously, he's got a personality issue. He rubs people the wrong way. Allegedly, things went south with Jacksonville, and he forced his way out and things like that. So now he's with the Bucs. And you recognize, okay, maybe a certain kind of coach can work with a player like Leonard Fournette. But it just lends to me, and maybe I'm just got my blinders on so much, but it really just, every time a player of talent with some question marks gets passed on by the Lions, I feel like it's Patriots light. And I don't want to do it that way. I'm like, okay, does Leonard Fournette have talent? Yes. Is he young? Yes. Is he better than what you got? Even if it's like half a sliver of a percent, the answer is yes. And you're like, oh, no, we got to pass on that. And you see the money that he signed for, it's like, okay, is Leonard Fournette better than Ty Johnson? Is Leonard Fournette better than Bo Scarborough? Look, it's a cutthroat business. And I'm fascinated by the loyalty that people have to the players that are on the Lions roster. Even Jason Huntley, we look at it from the perspective of you traded Quandre Diggs for an extra fifth-round pick, which now potentially could have been another player that adds to your team, and you don't get that value. Maybe you tried to sneak him on the practice squad. It didn't happen. Now, look, with Huntley, he had some skills, but he also was probably going to be used on special teams, and he butchered that in practice. So they felt like they moved on. So I'm not as hurt. When I look at it and say, okay, you replace him with AP instead of Leonard Fournette, now I'm like, oh, what is the deal? Because of the nature of how sports is and what the Lions are doing, if you're going to be risk averse from all these players that have potential problems, you're missing out on talent. And I just feel like, again, the Patriots potentially go out there and get troublesome players and they move on when it doesn't work. The Lions, I feel like, are just trying to, every single year, go out there and get a 32-year-old plus running back that had a history, and then he flames out. So I'm hoping that maybe AP gets some carries and short yardage and stays healthy, and maybe in 2 years, if he sticks with us, breaks Barry's record. That'd be interesting to see. But at the same time, in a win-now mode, I'm down for getting some talented football players, and I felt like it was a whiff not at least sniffing or putting out there that you inquired about Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, I think so too. And I was upset when you didn't even hear there was like zero smoke regarding Leonard Fournette. Like, why not just put a feeler out or say, hey, we've got something scheduled. We're supposed to be bringing him in. If he doesn't show up for his practice or for his scheduled meeting, that's on him. Or if he goes to Tampa Bay beforehand, again, that's on him. But as an organization, I think it shows that you're either looking for choir boys, which I don't know how many teams win with a whole team full of Saints besides New Orleans Saints, or you're not even in the conversation when guys who just get released want to go find a job. Like, I much rather not do anything than go be a Lion. And if that's the case, what does that say about your organization? I think that's a total indictment. So I think it was a total miss by not even being involved with Leonard Fournette. And look, I get it. He's got a personality issue. I understand it, right? You've got a quarterback who is in his 14th year in Matt Stafford. If he can't command the respect of that running back, then we've got issues, because Matt Stafford's a pretty damn good quarterback, okay? And you've got a very good young wide receiver in Kenny Galladay, and you've got a pretty good veteran in Marvin Jones, all right? If you can't come in and you can't fit in with these guys, there's a bit of a problem here. And so I was upset by that too. I thought that was a total misfire and a total indictment on this organization, which really kind of irked me.
Yeah, absolutely. So now here we are. The Lions roster was set. A couple surprises here and there, but by and large, I like the roster. Maybe the biggest question marks you're going to see are in the secondary and at linebacker. The biggest question that everybody's going to have is this defense better for the Detroit Lions? And at this point in time, it's safe to say they got to go out there and prove it, because on paper, there's slightly better talent, but overall, I don't think they did enough to make anybody confident, or at least for the defensive coordinator to come out and say, I have nothing but confidence that our defense is going to help us win. Well, now you got to prove it, because Mitchell Trubisky, who had his 2 best games in 2019 statistically, is coming to your house, and he's coming to do some damage. And I'm hoping that Corey Undlin, now that he's been given the responsibility, can have the opportunity to blitz a little bit more, bring some pressure with the linebackers, and have the secondary make plays when it counts. This is going to be a close game. I
think so too.
I feel like it's going to be a little bit sloppy to start. It's going to be played in front of no fans. Remember, they've only had 14 practices. Tackling is going to be an issue. So the Detroit Lions, is going to be incumbent upon them to make the key plays late. So that's why I'm a little bit concerned. It can go either way. It's hard to even predict it because you really haven't seen any game action. So I think it's going to be sloppy. It could be high scoring. It tends to favor an offense when we look at tackling and things like that. And I like the Lions offense. So I think the first game, in my mind, the prediction's going to be that the Lions are going to come away victorious, but it's going to be by the very close ball game heading into the fourth quarter. And I just think that maybe the Lions can wear them down if they do indeed stick to a run game early and can wear down the Chicago Bears. But the talent's there on offense. The huge question mark, yet again, is the defense. And so for me, the biggest question mark is going to be, can the secondary make plays? Can they cover people? Can the linebackers figure out how to cover the tight ends and properly understand, hey, if it's a rush, don't get caught up. Don't get fooled by a play action. Make sure you maintain your gap responsibilities and just make sure that it's not Mitchell Trubisky who beats you, because if he does it 3 times in a row, it's going to be the height of embarrassment, because your defense is predicated by a coach that has a pedigree. He's got a ring. If you can't figure out how to stop Mitchell Trubisky, that's embarrassment at the highest level of the National Football League. But you wouldn't be surprised if Mitchell Trubisky comes out there and throws 4 touchdowns, and I would not be surprised if the Lions went the other way and just absolutely laid an egg. I wouldn't be surprised. The pressure's there. It's the first game. You haven't had that many practices. You might be a little bit emotional that first go around. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears get out to a quick lead.
I mean, I think you can make the argument, too. Mitchell Trubisky is arguably the worst quarterback in the NFC North. I mean, by a long shot, right? So if he comes out here and he cuts you up like a hot knife through butter, then I think we've got a ton to talk about after week 1.
You know what? You're going to be having a good old time in Mexico. I'll be Skyping you and being like, look at that, man. Look what's going on. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe we'll get it. They got Skype there. Mexico's got some development, right? I've been there. They had the internet. They had stuff. We'll connect maybe for a quick 10 minutes, get you away from vacation mode for a minute.
Okay.
All right.
We'll get it figured out.
We'll get it figured out. And you got look, okay. You saved a little bit of money on the flight because you're flying Spirit. So if you don't, if
I don't die.
Yeah, if the plane, if the plane makes it to its intended place, then make sure just pay a little bit for the upgraded Wi-Fi. Just say, look, is there anything extra I can get here? It might be only $8 a day. Just splurge on that.
Okay.
Let's see. Wi-Fi.
I'll get it figured out.
Get it figured out. Outside of the tequila, you a big tequila guy, or are you more?
Oh God, no.
No, you're not. Okay, I'll share a quick.
So I used to be. That was how I would walk in the bar and I would start my night off. Would be 3 shots of tequila and then a beer at the end of it.
Okay.
And after a couple times, I just no more.
So I think people know that. I think they watered down the tequila in Mexico. And when I went, and in the second half of the podcast, we're going to do a great round of some predictions, and Adam's got a great setup, and we'll try to give our best insight as to what's going to happen with the Detroit Lions. But I want to share this quick story. I went to Mexico last November. I had a good time. And I wasn't a big tequila drinker at all. So I go up to the swim-up bar, and it's like a random Wednesday. I'm like, all right, let's try this tequila. I'm like, just lay them all out. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, just pour a shot of every single one you got. He's like, all right. So I found one that was so smooth that it tasted like water. And I was like, man, this is good. And so the guys were great. It was called Scooby-Doo Shots and Tequila Boom Boom. And a mutual friend of ours tried, and he's a bigger dude, tried to hang with me And he was like, dude, John, what are you doing? I'm like, we're going to town, dude. It's tequila. This is great. I like this one. So I'm like, more. So on a random Wednesday, we started at 11. By like 11:45 a.m., we're 2 sheets to the wind. And it was watered down, though, so I was pacing myself. So it wasn't like one every minute. It was like one every 6 minutes. But we were going to town till like 1, 2 o'clock. Dude's in bed by 2. And we had a dinner to go to at 6. And we're like, dude, they all thought that I was going to pass out. But it was like literally one of the rare times where you get that perfect buzz that just lasts for hours and hours and hours. And it was sustained by Mexican tequila. And I was like, we got to find out what this is. I want to buy it. I want to import it. It was so good. It went down so smooth, no burn, nothing needed with it. It was mixed with something too. So that was, I went with a great tequila experience on a random Wednesday, and I was buzzing from like 11 until 3 o'clock. And it was like perfect. Not drunk, but like a steady, beautiful drunken buzz in Mexico. And I was just like, this is amazing. So
that sounds awesome.
It was good, man. It was good. I was singing on the beach. That's what you want to do. You don't want to go overboard. It's that fine line. You don't want to be sloppy. You just want to ride a nice buzz. And I finally got one with a tequila. It was perfect. Everyone was like, what is going on? And I was like, I don't know what it was. Maybe that day I carried it, or it was watered down perfectly, or I had the right ratio of burgers with tequila. But the other dude, he was like, what the hell? He was out. He went out. And I was like, all right. And everyone was like, dude, you drank him under the table. And he outweighs you by like 100 pounds. I'm like, hey, I don't know what it was, but it was a nice day. So I wish you a good vacation. It'll be fun. Just don't worry about anything. That's the whole point of vacation. But yeah, Spirit, look, we don't want to knock companies, but they don't got a good reputation. I don't know what their deal is. I don't like to fly, but I'm Delta all the way. I'm brand loyal. Flights were smooth, and I've been happy with them the last 5 years. My one flight every 5 years is Delta. So good luck. I wish you the best. I get you back here quickly. So you'll be out next week, and then we'll get you back. And hopefully the Detroit Lions will be 1-1. I don't know about game 2 on the road. That might be a really tough call. All right, set the scene. What are you looking for here in these predictions? What caught your attention? Set the scene here for the Detroit Lions here in the second half of the podcast.
So I was scrolling through. I was trying to find something for us to talk about Lions related. And I was scrolling through, and I was on ESPN checking a couple things out. And they had this, basically it was an over-under. And I was surprised at the numbers that they gave, because looking at this, I think for all but maybe one, you can go totally over with what they've got listed here. And it starts with win totals, and it goes all the way down to their draft pick in 2021. And I was shocked at the little amount of credit that the Lions are getting. Now, look, I don't think this is going to be a very good team this year. But all that being said, I think this team, you could make the argument that they are the best team in the NFC. They are the second best team in the NFC North. At least offensively, this team is going to be high caliber as long as Matt Stafford can stay healthy. And there's the big caveat: if Matt Stafford can stay healthy. I think Green Bay has taken a step back because Aaron Rodgers has taken a step back. You've not really given him any tools to really work with. And a lot of the guys that you're bringing in, I don't think any of them are extremely high caliber, but I think he still finds a way to get it done with lesser talent. I don't think that Minnesota really added a whole bunch to their team, but I think Minnesota's probably the top of this division, whereas Chicago brought in a quarterback to challenge Mitch Trubisky and didn't win the job, and they didn't really do a whole lot with Trubisky. So I think Chicago's probably at the very, very bottom. I think Detroit probably number 2 in this division, but I think they have a chance to win the division, and a lot of it's predicated on this offense and what you get out of this defense. But as far as over-unders go, Lions win total of 6.6 is where they're setting the line. And I've got to go over with this. I can see this team winning 9 games and slipping into the playoffs this year. Yeah. I'm not sure how you feel.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have the Lions being 8-8. That's where I look at it as well. I think 8-8 is a good starting point. Not because, too, remember that when we make the predictions, other teams as well didn't get that much better. They've made some moves as well. So in the league, if you just make slight adjustments, you should win some ball games. So 8-8, at the worst, I think it will be 6-10. So, on the over, I think a lot of people have taken the bet to go at least 7 wins for the Detroit Lions. So make the over bet. Take a chance.
If I had $1,000 right now, I would run to the window in Vegas and I would put it on the over for sure. Chances to win the NFC North title, they're setting it at 9%. I just told you that I don't think Green Bay is all that good. I think Aaron Rodgers has regressed. He's another year older. I think Minnesota is probably the heads and tails of this division, and I think Chicago is a dumpster fire. I think you could set that line feasibly closer to 15 to 20%, and I think that's probably more of an accurate line. I'm going to go over the 9% because, like I said, I think it's 15 to 20% here for them to win the NFC North.
Because you got to go with history. They haven't won in 2 decades. For whatever reason, it just, when it's time to raise your level of play, the Detroit Lions just find a way to not rise to the occasion. So while it's fun to think big, dark horse, and, hype season, and I love hype season. I mean, it's fun because reality is going to hit probably in the next 100 hours. And it's unfortunate to say that, but you can expect it. So as I sit here talking to you, I got to go 0%. So I'm going under because I don't see a scenario outside of multiple injuries. Bro, look, the Vikings, they move on from a talented individual. Do they go out and get Damon Harrison? Do they go out and get Mike Daniels from the Lions? No, they go out and get Yannick Ngakoue to mess and meddle with the Detroit Lions.
Savage move.
Exactly. Savage move. And everyone's like, well, how do they do that? Oh, the cap and blah, blah, blah. Well, you go to Riley Reef and say, look, you want to block for some good teams? You want to be on a good team to make the playoffs? Okay, take $5 million less. And he's like, okay. Now, could you imagine a Detroit Lion being asked that? He'd be like, no, cut me. So that's what winning organizations do, is they make miracles happen with the cap. The Lions have done a good job, but then when it comes down to do the shopping, they go out and get the choir boys and they get the people that are familiar, and they don't go with the talent. They
get the Spartan brand food instead of whatever the name brand is.
There you go. Come on, bro. We're we're podcasters now. We get the Kroger brand. Spartan brand. I've always wanted to go in there, but I've never been into a Spartan store. Is it really bargain basement type stuff?
Kind of. I mean, I haven't shopped in one since I was a kid, but yeah, I mean,
exactly. So
what it is.
Yeah, we'll stick with the Kroger brand. That's exactly right. Go out and get the name brand. That's what we're looking for. So until I see otherwise, you got to get 9-10 wins, and that's the ceiling, I think, for this team. So 0% for me.
See, I don't mind that, and I totally get where you're coming from with it. Yannick Ngakoue was a guy that I would have loved for the Lions to have been involved with getting. And again, this is a team that is never, just like Leonard Fournette, they're not even mentioned in that class, but Minnesota is. So it's just, that's another frustrating case. Now, chances to make the playoffs, they've got it at 17.4%. Again, I think this team's probably going to go 9-7. We'll see what happens. I think the offense is pretty good. At this point, you're counting on that defense to do something. I'm going to go over, and again, I'm going to go over, but it's not going to be over by a lot. I think you could make the case that there's probably a 19 to 20% chance that this team makes the playoffs. And again, it's just slipping in. It's not like they're dominating. It's just slipping in.
Yeah, if you make the playoffs, you're probably going to be 6 or 7. The extra spot is cool. I'll take it. And I think there's an opportunity maybe to get in at 7 and 9. So I agree with you. Over, but barely, And if you do get in, you're going to be fodder for the likes of Seattle, the likes of good teams, maybe even in your own division, Green Bay.
Now, this is where it gets funny. So Super Bowl chances, 0.2%. This team can't even get 5%. It's 0.2%. Honestly, like not even 1%. I think that speaks to the history of this organization. I think that speaks to what this general manager and what this head coach have done in the past. But all that being said, I'm going to go over. I'm going to put it at 1%. Like, if you can get into the playoffs, you got a shot, right? I mean, anything can happen. So I'm going to put it at 1%. It's like a snowball's chance in hell, but it's still more than 0.2%.
Everyone's going to understand this. There is legitimately more of a chance that Adam gets on one knee in Mexico and proposes to his lady friend next week without telling me. He got a ring, going to do it all. He's going to have flowers. He's going to have video production. He's like, I'm going to do it big this time because I'm rich, and I'm going to have a videographer.
I did it big last time.
No, I'm talking about big. I'm talking about cinematography, where the crane. We're going to have the full-on shot. Adam with his speech.
Drone flying over.
Drone. Adam's like, babe, it's been the best 6 months of my life. I can't live without. And then the music will come, and then the violin players, and I'm like, wow, Adam did it off. That's good. This is great. And it's going to be like a release, and there'll be music, and then the Backstreet Boys will be playing in the background, and it'll be all over IG. There's more of a chance of that happening than the Lions winning the Super Bowl. So let's just move on from that kind of talk. I mean, literally, it would rank among the greatest upsets in the history of the world. Documentaries, I wouldn't believe it. My jaw would be agape forever. Like the moment when it comes, if the Lions ever turn the corner and get to that point, it'll be an amazing time, but just not in 2020.
I love it. So I'll put you down for under because you're going with 0.0. Brutal. Very funny, though. Very, very, very. So that leads us to the 2021 draft, where they've got the Lions drafting at number 7. And look, I said I think they're going to go 9-7. I think there'll be some type of a average to middling team. That means that they're going to be drafting in the middle 10. So obviously for me, it'll be over. Apparently I am on the hope train and I'm drinking all the Kool-Aid. That's kind of weird for a Lions hater. So I'm not really sure what the hell I'm doing and what's going on. Apparently quarantine's getting to me.
Yeah, it's okay. You're vacation mode, hype season, not a problem.
That's what it is.
It's hype season. Come on, bro. Keep it on the under train. It's okay. You can be positive. It's good. That's the balance of everything, is that you get to speak your mind freely and it's an opportunity. But no, man, you got to go the under on that one too.
All right, I got you down for the under. So that's our Lions over and under. I did want, before we got out of here, I did want to make a couple bold predictions. So if you got anything that you think might happen this season, let's kind of put it out there. I'm going to write them down. I've got a note for myself that we're going to revisit this podcast at the end of the Lions season to see kind of where we ended up falling here. So for me, first Lions bold prediction: Matt Stafford stays healthy this year and throws for 4,700 yards, and he throws for 35 touchdowns and 10 interceptions.
Ooh, big season for Stafford, huh? Okay. Anything else on that, or that's your bold prediction?
That's my bold prediction. Matt Stafford has a hell of a season.
Okay. Now this is good. All right, so bold, something huge and out. Okay, my bold prediction is actually going to be on the defense, and I predict that Jeff Okudah will have 3 pick sixes, and he'll be dancing, and he'll have start out slow, but he'll have 3 pick sixes, and not only will they be spectacular, I'm talking about breaking tackles. I'm talking about, I think the hype train, while it's been slow to start, if he's as talented as they say he is, then this is the guy, number 3 pick. He's got to show it. And how do you show it? Let's even go more. 4 pick sixes.
4 pick sixes.
In 2020. Not only interceptions, but interceptions where he gets them in a spot where he has an opportunity to take it to the house. Bold, baby. That's how we got to do it. We got to have...
That is bold.
We got to have the young players produce. And I'm tired of this slow marination. Put his ass in the broiler and produce. Enough of this nonsense. You were drafted number 3. I don't care. You can't beat out Amani Arawariye in 14 practices? Okay, that's fine. I can understand it. But by week 5, if you're not out there and you ain't strutting, we got a problem.
I love it. For me, DeAndre Swift is the real deal. He's going to win Rookie of the Year, and he rushes for 1,300 yards. He runs for 12 TDs, and he catches 4 more touchdowns in a hell of a season.
Okay, remember now, I did get word from a Georgia SI reporter that he's kind of starting to get that early vibe of Kevin Jones, in that he's a little bit nicked up here and there. Not enough to be concerning, but he's always, in Georgia at least, he always had the somewhat of a nicked up situation. So let's hope that's not the case. Let's hope that when he starts putting on size and things like that, that he doesn't end up, for those that don't know, Kevin Jones was okay, flashes, but for those that are newer, you don't want the early Kerryon Johnson situation. You want to get your ass on the field. And so DeAndre Swift, he did fall. So that's just a caveat with your prediction there.
That's why it's bold, baby.
That's why it's bold. My last bold prediction, and it's going to be a good one. Even with 9 or 10 wins, even if it's a possibility, Matt Patricia, Coach of the Year.
Ooh, I like that one.
I think that, Matty P's got the support of the guys. They love him. They're going to protest with him. He's now a media darling. He's a guy that's a little bit nicer, a little bit easier to deal with. But in this situation, in this scenario, he's got his players. He's got his road dogs. Go out there and get your coach an award. Matt Patricia, Coach of the Year, baby. And that's all I got in terms of bold predictions. Because when reality strikes, it's going to be very, very bad. So let's see what happens. But right now, like I said, as we always say when we enter a line season, cautiously optimistic. Let's see how many, because we've already had the pad level talk. We've already had the fundamentals talk. Let's see how many penalties they have first game, how many missed tackles, who's put in what spots, and let's see if, for once, the Lions are on the positive side of it.
All right, for my final one. This goes totally counter to what we had from this defense the last 2 years. But this defense is in the top 3 in sacks and tackles for loss, and they lead the league in rushing the passer this season.
Ooh.
So we get that defense that we want, that defense that we need, that defense that will help you get into the playoffs.
I like it. I think it'd be nice if Unlin would be like a star, young guy that worked his way up and get some features. That'd be great. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
That would be great.
Good stuff, sir. I really do hope you have a good vacation. Follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. I really appreciate the time. Oh, man. Game 1 is upon us. Look, for whatever reason, the Big Ten season still delayed. Nobody wants to communicate. It was cool to see college football, but on that side of things, I'm not as hyped because we're not in it. So for the NFL to come back, I'm very happy. And I'll share next week. It'll be me, maybe with somebody, maybe just me sharing the stories. I will be at Ford Field. I got approved, thank goodness. I don't know how it's going to go, but at least the parking situation's better. Before I was at a way far away parking lot. At least at this point, I'm at the parking lot right across from Ford Field. I'll share my experiences, what it's like to be at a football game with no fans, what it was like for me to be a media member. Where do they put me? Do I get to way at the top? Am I in the corner? Am I in the lower bowl? Well, I'll share every experience of what it's like from the inside. I will be present at Ford Field this Sunday for hopefully a Detroit Lions victory, hopefully a coming out party for a lot of second-year players and for Matthew Stafford. So we'll see what happens, but stay tuned to Detroit Sports Podcast. You get some inside information from DocNJock, from Vito Churko, from Steve Dace. Great insight regarding the world of Detroit sports, 7 years strong, and you're seeing what's going on in the world of podcasting. We knew it then. We know it now. Podcasting is where it's at. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk soon. Looking forward to our next broadcast when Adam comes back from his VIP vacation in 2 weeks.